We are just about ready to get started here. So, welcome aboard if you're here already. If you're not here, well, you wouldn't be hearing me, right? So, here's what I'm saying. There we go. Gotta love it when they say yes on 50 in the ads. Okay. Well, welcome. So far there's one of me. And I know we got a couple of minutes here before others get in here. Oh, there's Mike. Hi, Mike. This looks interesting. Yes, I thought I'd do something a little different to start the day off. This is I'm sorry, I'm trying to adjust my connector here. Hang on just a second. For some reason it doesn't want to charge up my phone now as I'm doing this. So, yeah, we got olive wood this morning. Nice piece of olive. We'll light that up a little bit. There's the olive. And, I know we were talking about that the other day. So, welcome, people. I'm doing something a little different. I'm watching this on the YouTube studio rather than on the regular feed, so I can kind of see some of the other things going on. So far, the only two viewers are you and me, I guess. Yeah, good. You got some olive blanks. I'm interested where they would come from. Probably from Europe, I'm assuming. Italy or Greece or someplace like that. But could be from anywhere, I suppose. Olive trees are pretty easy to grow. They grow them around here even as ornamentals in front of people's houses or in backyards. They're very sturdy trees. They last a long, long time. But I can't believe this guy was using this for firewood. Makes you want to cry sometimes. Leopard wood, tiger wood, black palm, windy. Oh, that black palm. Remember, I turned a piece of black palm. I'm warning you right now. You're going to have to sharpen often because there's sand particles that are inside in there that will really dull your blade quickly. So just FYI. Be prepared to sharpen your blades constantly, or even if you're using carbides, you may have to change them out. So just a little fair warning on that. Sounds like you did get some real exotics. The Wangi's always nice. Make sure you're wearing your mask around that, and same with the Padak. And we'll see from there.
They don't have any more tables. And there's no 4-inch numbers.
Okay. Well, that was disappointing. We thought we had a chance to be at a craft show this in November, and they already sold out. So much for that. Well, while we're waiting, I'm going to wait for a couple more people to get on here before we get started. Kind of want to see. See it from the beginning, kind of. Looks like we got about 65 people in here, so I guess it's so the kind of pen that I'm gonna save it so you get to see it at the end. it's called a double X Pro. It's still in the slimline issue, but it's not doesn't look anything like a slimline. So, and in fact, I haven't put one together in years. So bear with me when I'm putting it together. It may take me a couple minutes to make sure I get everything on properly. But we'll start turning it. One thing about this particular one is it's an 8mm, not a 7mm base. So, and I got to be really careful here because I had a piece that was a little crack. There was a little crack in here. I want to make sure I don't snag that crack and accidentally break off this, or we won't have a pin at all. So I'm taking it very, very lightly and very smoothly. Don't want to be pushing it at all. You seem to be getting pretty near round on this one. One of the things you want to be careful of is whenever you have a knot like this, that's also a catch spot. So you want to be careful of those catch spots. That's why it's kind of bouncing over it a little bit, and it's still not quite circular, so I'm going to do a little bumping. It's going to go very slowly over that part. Yep, see it pops, it bumps me off. This is going to be very pretty wood, I think. And we're going to be doing a bowl out of another piece of this olive. Here's the done with the pin. If you would, please hit the like button and subscribe, or subscribe if you can, or at least hit the like button. That would be appreciated. We're going to be here for a little while. Yes, the other day I was doing a live, and boy, did we have a lot of people on here. It was unannounced, and it seems like sometimes unannounced gets more people in it than the announced one. It's something I can't quite figure out, but it's what it is. I'm just using a small spindle gouge here for this. You could use any number of gouges or different things to do these spindles with the spindle work. You could use scrapers and shears. You could even use a bowl gouge if you wanted to, although it seems like overkill. see if I can finish up just a little bit faster. See what that looks like now. See, that's still kind of a rough knot right there it's going through. So I do need to be careful because it could snag right here. It could tear. So I got to go this way so I'm not snagging that. As much as I can anyway. Yeah, that's going to do a little better. You got to read the wood as you do this, otherwise you can end up with a real problem. And everybody likes to have their do all this setup work and everything for a pen, and then lose the blank at the end. Not what you sign up for, so to speak. As you get down near that bearing, and be careful I don't press too fast. Because you can always sand it down to where your final place is. I can sand it down from there, that's not a problem. Let's get this other side going. And I want to be just as careful with it. A little high there. Alright, so we got the general shape of it. What do we got in here? Yeah, I don't like to make them real fat. I like them to fit the pen itself as best I can. And you know, so we'll see what happens here. Yeah, please double tap the screen or hit the like button. I'd appreciate it, guys. Looks like we got 100, 150 people in here right now, so that's great. But would really like to see more likes that would be appreciated. I'm going to take my watch off here. Just give me a second. Okay, there we go. There. Okay, so we got this generally shaped. And pull this out of the way. And grab my sandpaper here. And we'll start with the 150. And we'll start evening this out just a little bit. And get this one too. I'll turn on this. Excuse me for a minute. I'm going to turn on the dust collector just to. A little bit of red that comes in there. I just put a very small arch to the wood from the top to bottom because I want it to be more graceful. I don't like. I mean, I do make some slimline pins before that have very slender middle and then they're fatter around the outside, but I tend to put little wings on the end of them or something for your fingers or something like that to give it a little more style. That's just the way I do mine. Everybody does their own. So, my first one here, I make sure that I'm getting up to the bearings so that there's no. I'm right at flush with the bearings on both ends. That's my biggest thing. I don't want it sticking out because it looks funny when the brass doesn't match up to the wood. Or chrome or whatever it is you're using. Now we got a really nice look on there. Okay. And then I'm going to use my 240. Now here I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to do this. The 240 is not as aggressive for it, so it will help shape it and smooth it, so it's not going to change the overall angle and keep it. I'm doing this at about 1400 right now. That one's in reverse. Now what I like to do in between, I like to do this, a little cross scratching before I put on the next one. When I do that, it gives a little more of a buffing factor when I do the next one. I'm going to the 310 now. And we're back in forward position. Yeah, it just takes off a little bit more. Makes it a little smoother. Where I do that cross hatching. So even at 310, this is still taking off quite a bit of, because all of it are relatively soft wood. Not overly soft, but it is relatively. Okay. That's feeling really good. And we'll finish this off with the 400. We'll go both directions in this one. Oh, I should have that side. And I'm not a big CA fan, I know a lot of people are. Go backwards here. turn that noisemaker off. For a little bit. And you can hear me better now. I don't have the mask on. And what we'll do is we will use little mylins. I like to use mylins. It's a friction polish. But any friction polish you have will work. This happens to be one I use in the shop, but whatever you feel comfortable with. And just going to use a paper towel for putting it on. But boy, whenever you get something like this, always make sure you really mix it up good. Otherwise, you're leaving the best parts down at the bottom of the container. So always do that. Okay. And you can see the color starting to come out on that. We'll get in here a little closer so you can see that. Okay. And a little bit more. Yeah. Oops. Friction here. Polish. And then we will do the wipe off. You see we get a nice finish on it right from the start. Okay, I'm gonna let it sit for just a second. Bear with me here, I gotta do something with my computer. Not sure what happened, but it went off here, so just bear with me on this. There we go, back on. Somehow I accidentally hit a button or something. And here we are, okay. So, okay guys, hi Bill, welcome aboard. Yeah, help me out if you can. I think what happened was I was on this one screen and it went to sleep on me. I may need to go back to the other screen to do this, but anyway, I'm going to put a second coat on here, and then we'll be finishing this up. So. There we go. We'll finish it up with a tiny bit of wax at the end. See, nothing's coming off on the clean towel. It means it's all gone into the wood. That's good. All right. That's looking really nice. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of wax here, just to give it a little extra coating. Protection. Yeah, I know I could use a cloth, but I just wanted to kind of put this on by hand. But it kind of feels nice, to be honest with you. Your skin kind of warms it. rest on the towel here. And we'll line this up a little bit. And do a little more glass. There we are. Wipe it off. Yeah, and that's our finished pieces of wood for that pin. You can do pins pretty quickly. Just a matter of having the all the little tools necessary to make your job easier. I better put the lid back on this or I'll knock it over. How many of you had knocked over your finish onto the floor before and ended up having to clean up a half a bottle of something you spent a lot of money on? I would imagine a few of you, right? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm kind of curious where all you guys are from. I'd be curious to find out. Yeah, you lost count how many times I did. Yeah, I have too, Mike. So that's why I was asking. I think we all lose count sometimes from that. Okay. I was having a little trouble with my computer signal here, making sure that I can see everybody and see the comments that are going on. So just want to make sure I got everybody on there. Okay, great. All right. Well, this has had a chance to dry just a little bit. Take that up. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, that'll come off that way. We'll unscrew this. Actually, we can just take them off from the other end. There's one. I want to keep them in the same order. Here's the other one. The nice thing about this is you can actually decide how you want to build the pin, in a sense that you can say, well, I want this piece on top, or I want this other piece on top, however you think it'll look best. Okay. Get that out of there. So that is another little advantage to making your own pins. Okay, I'm going to clean this off just a little bit here, and then we'll put the pin together. Certainly not cleaning everything up because there's going to be a lot more sawdust in a couple minutes. I'm going to start doing the bowl that goes with this. Let's take this off, get this out of the way. All right, and got a towel here I can put over this to kind of help me a little bit. Here, nice blue background field there. And then we have the pen. Now, a lot of times when you get these pens, kits, they come with instructions. And the instructions can be quite valuable. In fact, they are very valuable. But they can also be a little confusing at times. So I thought we would kind of go through this together so you could watch me screw up if it happens. I'm going to pull back here. So you can see everything. I like to kind of line my things up as best I can. Like I know this goes in here. And I know this is the top cap. And I know this is the center point. And I know these are the ends. So now I just have to line up my pieces with it. Okay. So this is going to be about like so. And then this is going to be about like so. I think that's going to look pretty good. Okay? So what it says is that you press, and we'll get our press out here, but it says you press the pen coupler, which is this, into one end. So I'm going to do that. I can get everything set up here. Trying to do this in view of everybody without losing any of the parts in the process. Okay, so it says that you attach this end into here. So we will attempt to do that. I need to take the first thing off. And done. Ta-da! So far, so good. Okay, and then it says to press the center band, short extension first into the opposite end. So this is the center band. You want the short extension, which is this side, into here. So let's see if we can get that in here. Make sure I got everything lined up. I don't want it to be at an angle. And we press that in thusly. Great. Now we got that all done. Yay! First two parts are accomplished. That's a big goal in my mind. Okay, then it says insert the 3-part plastic. I love this. The 3-part plastic part. Well, this is the 3-part plastic part. It's already put together, even though they showed it differently. Okay, it says insert the 3-part plastic part. Narrow diameter of the sleeve in first. Well, there is no narrow diameter to the sleeve. That's just what it is. And if you try to put it on here, you can't. If you try and put it on this, you can't. So then you go, okay, what are they talking about? Well, what they're talking about is in the other piece, in the other side. So let me see if I can get this in. And I believe like so. That's how it's supposed to fit. Although it just kind of slides in there. I'll leave that for a second just to double check myself. And yeah, that's what it showed. I showed it to the back of the mechanism, the front of the mechanism. Okay. So it says, and pointing upward, and push it in until it's flush with the edge, and slide the lower barrel and the center band extension into the upper barrel. So, in other words, you put it like so, and then we slide these like so together here. I'm going to have to use this to plunge that in. Okay, so this is now what it's starting to look like here. And I can adjust this a little bit if I want. I think it's pretty much in a good shape, but we'll see. Sometimes I don't like it exactly like they have it, but we'll see. So it says, slide the plunger guide. That's this is the plunger guide. Narrow in first. Into the clip hole, and then press the assembly into the opposite end of the tube, which is this right here. Well, that went in pretty simply. Okay, didn't even have to really press to do that. Okay, and it says that we put this in here and turn it. No, I'm going to do this first. I'm going to see if I can connect that. If that's not connecting, I am not happy with that. Oops. This has to screw into that. Great, there we go. And we need the pin itself, which goes in here. Oh, I know what. I'm sorry. I forgot the spring. Spring would be helpful. There we go. You gotta remember all the parts. There we are. Getting the spring on there is another story. That's the same on both ends. There we go. Now to get that spring on there. Now I got to try and screw that back on. This may be more frustrating than it's worth at this point. You know, there's another way to do this. So, for the moment, there. Now I can do it. I can press it up with the pin part. Put that in there. Put this on there and start screwing it on. See if I can get it to stick. There we are. Hey, I knew there was a way. Knew there was a way. Okay, now we put this on there, and we put this on there, and we shove this part in. And we're going to get it there. Here we are. Take that back out for a second. There we are. Got it. Okay. Just needed a little persuasion, that's all, folks. I'm going to take that off. Put the little spring on this end. Screw this on. Of course, it's a lot easier to do when you don't have 50,000 people staring over your shoulder. But there we go. There's our olive pen. Bring it up close for you to see. What do you think? I can put more of a gloss coat on that later. That's the wax that kind of dulled it off a little bit. I'll buff that out. But now you have a nice, very elegant pen. It really didn't take much time to do. Like I said, I'm not a big pen making fan, but hopefully that gave you all a little shot at seeing how pens are made. Put that over here out of the way for now, so we can get on to the main event. And the main event is going to be this olive bowl that I prepared. Hi, Robert. And Patrick, and another Patrick, and Ibrahim, and Aslan, and hi Sherry, CJ. She used to go by CJ. Great. We will put these aside. And here is the main event. This is a very heavy, although dried, piece of olive. It is probably, I would say, 7 or 8 pounds. It is pretty hefty. I'm not even sure how well it'll spin on here without throwing my my lathe around a little bit. Even though I've already trimmed it down to a rather spherical shape. Take this post out. And we will get started. If you would please hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. If you haven't already, it costs nothing, but it helps the channel. It helps the ego a little bit. They like me. They really like me. You know, that sort of thing. So I'm gonna forego the tail stock right now. I don't think I'll need it. And put this away. And I'm gonna put this little chisel away, or little gouge away, which was really handy. It worked excellently. I think I'm going to sharpen just a bit before we get going here, because this wood, although it is relatively soft, it's also dense. So soft and dense at the same time. Might get some nice little curls out of it. We want to make sure that we are ready to go. Just bear with me while I sharpen this up a little. Yeah, I know I should have done this ahead of time. I sometimes do, but I was running a little behind. Actually, I had a package delivered to the house like 5 minutes before we went live, and I had to go get the size of the package. So that's usually my last minute sharpening time. But it was worth it. I needed the package too, so. Or actually, my wife did. Okay, we are sharp. And I'm going to give this a little preliminary spin just to see what we're looking at here. Oh yeah, we can rumble at a pretty good speed. We can rumble at a pretty good speed here. Okay, good. And we'll move this up to as close as we can get without hitting. Yep. There. It is a little bit cantered, so we'll have to take that out of there as we're doing this. Alright, let's see what we can do. Let's see what damage we can do. We're going to create a bottom here. We're going to take some of this off. We're going to create a bottom. We're going to get some of this nice figuring going. This is not going to be a large bowl. But it is going to be a nice figuring bowl. Ooh. Considering this was firewood, anything we get out of this is going to be a big improvement over where it was headed. Whoa! Well, that was certainly fun. Now I can probably adjust this in just a little bit. Now it doesn't seem like much, but we take off about a ½ an inch there. I'm going to try going your way. It's just really tough going through this. Huh. Okay, you know what? I'm going to change here for this one. I'm going to use this one just to see if I can get a little bit different angle on that. little bit more. Now we're pretty much in the round, and now it's just a matter of straightening it all out. I think we can do that. Let's see. Well, that got me covered. But now you can see the wood in here. There's a lot of cracks. And we do have to worry about those cracks because this wood had been sitting around for a while and had not been treated properly, so we're going to get those cracks. And we need to get rid of those. Okay. Now what I think I'm going to try and do is use a scraper here to kind of settle this down a little bit. See, we start to get a little bit more smooth. It's very rugged out here, that's okay. We'll deal with that. We're still getting a little bit, not quite round. You can tell by the curls that are coming off. We're getting cut off and bumps in places. Let's see. A little flat right there. Yeah, okay. Let's take this back end off. Get it squared away. And then we'll go back around to this side here a little bit. In fact, come to think of it, for a matter of speed and time, I think I'll do a little bit of work right in here before we go any further. There we go. Okay. This looks like it could use a little reinforcing. We'll do a little of that. It is pretty rough and dried because they left the core in here, and it always radiates out from the core. So we're gonna fill that in with a little bit of glue. Hopefully this doesn't go too deep. Those are just little vein cuts there. I'm worried about this over here. We'll kind of treat all those
Lots of them here. Some of these are surface cracks, but some of these are pretty deep. Alright, let's a little sawdust on the problem. Fortunately, we got a lot of this really fine dust from all that turning we did. Oh, sounds like the battery on my helmet's giving up. Okay, I'll have to switch that out. Well, we need to let these set for just a second anyway. So, bear with me while I change my... It takes a couple seconds. There. We'll charge this up. Turn the new one on. And hopefully we can get through this. Okay. A little more sand or dust on here, sawdust on here. I'm going to wipe it down a little bit. Good. One thing is nice, it kind of holds that glue in place. Then you can go to the other side. Quite a big crack there. Couple little cracks. There's one is forming. This one's forming. And of course, as you cut into this, you create more cracks because you're releasing the stress on all this tortured wood, so to speak. And so you will see other little cracks that form as you go along through the wood. Okay. Put some in there. Put some in there. Okay. A little bit more. Right there. Alright, and we'll let that settle up for a couple minutes while we do the side here. What we got going on the page here? Hey Mike, Whacking Shack is here, guys. It is olive, sir, and it is it's the stuff I was showing you the other day. I rub my dusty. Yeah, well, you gotta rub it, you know, and kind of gotta be nice to it. You know, it's how you rub your wood, right? Okay, like, hey, if you guys haven't checked him out, you should check out the Whacking Shack. He does some great videos. He does a live on Sundays called Sunday Spun Day. Although he's been so busy lately, I know he hasn't had much chance to do some of the other stuff he likes to do, but check out his videos. He's got some really good ones. Whoa. I'm going to have to come from out here, I guess. Like I said, they were a little out of alignment. to raise this up just a little bit. That looks better. Now I can actually get close because I took that edge off. Good. Now we can start to straighten this out a little bit. Yep. There we go. Now we are, yeah, we're relatively flat. Good, 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 good. All right, so I'm going to straighten this, just sharpen this flat spot out a little bit. We do have some gradient cracks here too to deal with. Little skews does a really good job of flattening that out. See there? There's a lot of nice character even on the bottom. So then we're going to want to make our tenon if we can. And for that, we're going to try something a little different this time, just because of the type of wood it is. We'll use this first. I'm going to do a little decoration on the bottom here too. Here. Another one right about here. Huh? Yeah. Well, I just want to kind of eyeball this. That is just about perfection. Good. So we will take that little bit out of the middle. Yeah, I'm doing this just for my carbide friends here who always like to see me use carbides. You can do this with a carbide. Not my favorite tool to do it with, but you can do it with a carbide. come in here with my favorite. I need to raise this just a little bit. Just a little bit higher. Just a little bit. Yeah. There we go. And we are going to need to go a little bit because you see a crack running right straight through this. From right there to right there. And over on this side. So I'm going to have to be really careful how I attach this if I'm going to be able to get away with it. The crack is showing up. I'm hoping that I can make that work. Okay. Move that off a little bit. Okay. Look at this crack. See how that's cracking right in here? That's a big worry. And I think I might need to deal with that too. In fact, before we go too much further, I'm going to deal with that because I don't like to be surprised later on. So, bear with me a second here while I deal with these. Okay, that is a deep crack. And it only showed up when we did this, when we started turning this part out. Otherwise, I would have dealt with that a couple days ago before we got started. That is a deep crack. And we may turn some of it away anyway. I may still be able to turn away some of that and still keep the bowl in place. I really have a concern with this right here. That is an unnerving little crack also. But this is what we sign up for, right? A little danger is kind of what part of the fun. I just hope it doesn't ruin the bowl, simply because I really like this bowl, this wood. And I want to make sure that that I can turn it properly. Let that work for a minute. Put this back on here. We're going to try and fix as much as we can before we turn this around. Now this one sucked all the glue up in that we put in there. So that's probably going to be a pretty deep one. But we still got sanding to do and everything else, so we're not near done on this one. Yeah, I know, Mike. There I go, rubbing the wood again. What's the best way to keep blanks from cracking while drying? Well, the area you keep them in, for one thing, you need to keep a steady temperature. Preferably, you want them separated in stacks so the air can flow in and around them. I like to seal the end grain of the wood with wax or with a latex paint. There's all those techniques. One of the biggest ones, though, is try not to have the well, this particular case is not the problem, but in a lot of bowls you end up with that core, or the pith, in the middle of, like here it is right here, and everything is radiating out from that. In theory, what you'd want to do in many cases, not all cases, is to cut that off right there, and this would be your bowl piece, because you don't want to have that pith in there, because that's where all this is radiating from here. These other stress cracks, though, are not from that. They are from other things going on in the wood. Olive, because it has a very strangled life, basically, you get a lot of, you just get a lot of everything out of it. So sometimes this happens, not always. A little scraping cut. And you see a lot of that stayed in the wood there. That's good. Not here. That one I'm going to need to give a little bit more to. It's just sucking it in. So I have a feeling there's a real deep crack on the inside of this bowl, which may affect how we turn it later on. We'll have to see. Okay. The rest of it's looking pretty good. Okay. We will we'll do a little scraping, and then we will do a little sanding on this and see what we can do. Maybe do a little tiny bit of shaping here. Yeah. Got this little piece right here is still not quite turned in, so we're going to have to go just a little bit deeper, I think, because that's still a flat spot. So okay. Yep, we got underneath that now. Good. Okay. Now I can go back to that scraping motion again. Whoa. Not good. tension there. It's hitting with a little bit of a bump, 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 and I'm not sure why. This is in nice and tight. Everything's on tight. I'm not sure what's raised here just a little bit. See that? Bump, 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 bump. It's even more pronounced right here on the end. Huh. There's a high and a low spot here. It might be that. It might be that. I'm going to keep the speed up a little bit. Whoa! It is something there. What is hitting? That right there. That. Okay. I'm going to have to undercut that a little bit. I can do that too. It's still wobbling there, I don't know why. That thing right there, that crack, has me worried. Well, we're just going to have to go with it. We'll just go with it as best we can. There, at least we got it rounded. And I'll deal with those. I'll deal with these. We'll, Again, I hope that's just superficial and not too deep. We'll see. Guys, I'm going to need to leave you for about 30 seconds to tell my wife something. I will be right back. Just bear with me here. Talk among yourselves. I will be right there. Okay, sorry guys. As you can probably hear, the lawn guy is here and he's blowing everything. So, okay, now we're gonna try and sand this a little bit. No, I didn't go to Clapton. I went to Clapton to make sure the landscape guy got paid. His check is sitting there in the house, and I want to make sure my wife didn't forget to pay him. So I'm gonna just saturate this with a little bit of wood glue. Man, these three right here are really something. They're all smiling at you. But this is gonna be the end of what we have to do here. I'll take my chances on the inside after this, and we'll move along. Because you guys don't need to see every little thing I have to work on or deal with. If you are here for the ride, then this is part of the ride. Alright, when you buy the e-ticket, you get the whole experience, as they used to say. For those of you that like to go to Disneyland, no e-tickets anymore. They just ask you to drop your wallet at the front when you come in. Just leave all your money and your credit cards right there, and they'll take out what they need. It's getting really expensive to go to Disneyland and Disney World. There we go. Okay. Let's see if that helps a little bit. We'll get the sander out and we'll just start sanding this and see where it goes. I'm going to put this on. Sanding like this usually takes an hour or two to really get a perfect finish when you're sanding. And we're not going to be doing nearly that much. If I could edit this, I would just edit this part out for you. But you're here for the process, so we'll do it together. Watching somebody sanding is a little bit like watching grass grow. And the problem that we got now, though, is that if you do a video and you edit it and it goes for 20 or 30 minutes, you don't get very many views. When you do this live, you get thousands of people watching at the same time. So it just makes sense to kind of turn the camera on and let it fly, as opposed to making videos that get a tenth of the same number of views. I think in some ways YouTube kind of screwed themselves up a little bit there. Now you can start seeing some of the figuring coming out of this. When I put a little finish on this, you're going to see how this pops up. If you weren't here earlier, you didn't see the pin that I made. I'll show you that in a couple minutes here. Show you what the pin looked like that I made out of olive today. A lot of pithing in here and stuff. I really want to get it cleaned up, because if you don't do it now, when you go to the higher grits, the finer grits, you'll never get them out of there. Spin up the bottom here for just a second.
See, it's got that wobble look to it. It's got that wobbling effect to it. I'm not sure why it's wobbling. See that? It's wobbling here. Almost like I'm getting a wobble. See, I'm getting a wobbling effect just looking at it. It's like wobbling like this. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with my attachments. They're perfect. I don't think my drive is bent. But at the slow speed, I can see it. Look at there. If you look at that really closely, you'll see that. Look at my finger. See it wobbling my finger? Ever so much. That's going to translate when we flip it around too. I think, but well, we're going to work on it anyway. I just hope it doesn't translate on the other side as even being worse. Okay, I'll switch. Next one here. Around it a little bit. I think we'll stop with this one for this now, and we'll just start putting a finish on it and flip it around and see what's going on. I don't want to spend too many hours on this part right now. I'm going to have to refinish the outside again. That's very possible that I might have to do. Excuse me. Yeah, I know this is the boring part, folks, but please, if you can, hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. We appreciate it a lot. Alright, that's enough of that for now. I think I've tortured you all enough.
We'll leave that. Okay. What kind of surprise? Hi, Manuel. I appreciate Manuel and Steve and Paul and everybody. But let's see what this looks like, okay? I'm gonna put a little something on here. Now, olive is a relatively light colored wood. This brings out a little bit of the golden tannins in it. And you can start to see what I like about olive. Get you a little bit closer here. Kind of filling it all in. The first coat, it's going to soak this up, so it's going to take a lot more. But this is just to get it started. And this may kind of ease up the cracking a little too, as it gets down in there and dries. And you can see in there a little bit better. What do you think? That's kind of why, this is why I like olive, is this look right here. Well, I'm sorry, Mike, that you're having to deal with the kids at home. Yeah, if you guys have never turned olive, I highly recommend that you, well, I shouldn't say you turn olive, you should turn olive wood. I highly suggest that you try and get a couple pieces and turn them, because I think you'll be delighted at what they look like. Like I said, I made a pin earlier. Let me grab that. For those of you that didn't see it, here's a pin that I made earlier, and it's a click pin. Out of olive wood. I like this particular style. It's got a gel pin in it, and it's a really solid click. It's got 2 springs in it. This will last a long time for a customer. So I really like this particular style better than just the little slimline pins myself. But everybody's got a preference. Okay. Alright, so this is drying in there a little bit. Got that first coat on there. And kind of spin that up a little bit. Spin up that high, some of that glue that was way down deep gets pushed back out, so you don't want to be kind of careful of that. Make sure you wipe it off the surface anywhere it comes up. Okay. So everyone, I'm going to put another little coat on this, and then we're going to flip this over. I think it needs that just to saturate the wood a little bit. Get some down in the crevices. Let it get down in there so it can harden eventually. Got a nice burnished look to it right now. The sanding that we did, we only did it to 240. We only sanded this to 240, and it's got a nice burnished look and feel to it. I'm sure once this is dried off a little bit, it'll have a really nice feel, hand feel. Hand feel is really important for selling of your projects. This also tends to hide some of those little pits that were in there before, the little tiny pitting places. And we'll see. Got a little bit of that bark, but that's just enough of the bark to give it character and not have to be in the way. So I think that worked out really good. We had to take some of that down. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth like so on it. There we go. There we go. Okay. So there we are. So let that sit for just a second. I'll wipe off a little bit of residue and then we'll go on. Hi, Antonio. Yeah, turning off can be interesting. I think it's something you guys want to do. Hey, Piper. Thanks. Yeah, this is olive wood. This is stuff the guy was going to throw into the fireplace. I just want you to think about that for a second. This was going to be firewood. Okay? This was going to be firewood. And he gave me a big enough piece that I was able to cut 4 pieces out of it. I've got this piece here that I'll be turning. A few less cracks in it, I think. And I've got this one here, which had some big cracks in it, but it's got some very interesting wood. You can see that. There you go, I'm sorry. This one here. They're all big, heavy pieces. But this is all on one piece of wood. I took it over to my chainsaw the other day and cut it all up. I even saved a piece for Ryan if he's able to get on here and get this, but I got this piece left over for Ryan here, or anybody else who wants to come out to California, basically, you can have it. And I got a couple. I did one pin blank, but I already got a couple other pin blanks here that I can use. I think this is going to be really interesting as a pen blank. So you saw that I did one, and I can make probably 2 or 3 more pen blanks too out of some of these scrap pieces. So there's all that too. Okay. And then anybody else? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean, Viper, by what really. Okay, we're going to turn this around, and I'm going to cross my fingers that it's not too out of warp, because it was spinning on the faceplate, and it was giving us a hard time. So I'm not sure what. I mean, it was not quite round, even turning on the faceplate. I was getting a weird little vibration and a little bit of out of circle on there. So I'm not sure why. I hope that doesn't translate over to the other side too much. But if it does, we'll just deal with it, right? That's what we do. And a little from around my feet, because there's, for a small bowl, it's really made quite a bit of dust from the floor here. Just throw that off the footpad. I'm flipping and sliding. Uh-oh. I think I just vacuumed up the microphone cover on my wife. I think we hit full volume here. Yep. Yes, we did. Well, I'll have to clean this out in a little bit. We don't have time to do it right now. We'll just move on. Hopefully you'll bear with me as I go through this. Alright, well, let us get the screws out, and we'll turn this thing around and oops. There we are. Well, that really didn't want to come out. Alrighty. Okay. So dealing with this, I want to make sure that I'm pressing like that. Oops, sorry, I went the wrong way. There we go. Got it in the right position. Now it's just a matter of tightening it all up later. Well, now look at that. That on that side is it's really nice, so that's okay. I'll live with this. We'll live with that. Hopefully it holds even with those cracks. That's going to be the next challenge. Will it hold with the cracks, and then will it allow us to cut into the cracks? That's kind of the two questions we've got going here. Alright. I'm going to sharpen this bowl gouge again a little bit more. I think it's going to need it. When we get to cutting through it sort of. This might be an example of where I might need to use the carbide. I know that'll might be a thrill for some of you guys that always say, well, you can use gouge, you use the gouge, you don't use the carbide. Well, I can, and I will if I have to, but they're not my first choice. Carbides are my choice as a tool because I need to use that particular tool for something. So if you have my gouges that I really like to use, and so we will start with it and see where we go. This is sharpened, as you can see. Feels good. We're going to start slow on this one. Kind of see where we're at. Kind of rough our way in a little bit. Good. That flattened out pretty easily. Yeah, look at all this figuring in here. Look at all that figuring inside there. That's what we're going to be dealing with. Okay. And we kind of establish an outer rim. And that noise you're hearing, because I'm encountering that deep crack on this side. And once I get things settled, I will probably go up in speed, but right now, I just want to kind of see how deep that crack goes. Okay, so the crack is deeper than this. So this crack is going to go in for quite a ways. You know, we got another one out here. Then we have this kind of rough edge, which I don't mind keeping. I think that rough edge is going to look kind of cool. But we do need to make sure that we have a nice roll in. So I'm going to do this. Try and establish the outer edge. And we're going to come from the inside and we're going to come out to it. No, that's too much at one time. I don't want to take that much off. And if I start hearing more and more rattling like that, I will go lighter and lighter. So I'd rather take several small light cuts like this than the one heavy one and cut something and tear it out of the miter tenon on the other side. So I'm willing to take my time with something like this. And see, when you buy blocks of wood from wood sources and so forth, a lot of times you avoid a lot of these because they'll just cut off anything that looks like it's cracking or anything like that. But I'm getting something that came from somebody's backyard, and I'm dealing with it because I don't want to lose out on more and more wood that I could have. So I'm going to go with trying to turn what I was given and just deal with all the little idiosyncrasies of the wood. A little bit harder that way. But it's kind of important to get as big of a bowl as I can out of this. Okay. So far I've been turning this at about 500. Because I want to get below that crack. Let's see what we're doing on that crack. Yep, still got the crack all the way across here. And it's a pretty wide gap too, so if I'm not careful, I will gouge that. So I gotta be really careful as I go along here. I gotta be careful here too, because it can break off when I'm on the edge here. So let's turn it up a little bit on the speed. Well, before I do, make sure my connections are good. Oh, and do a little wipe off on the outside here too, because a little bit of that oil that went way down deep in the cracks is kind of getting spun out as we go. So we'll do a little housekeeping on here as we go, just to kind of keep that cleaned up too. Good. Okay. Now we go. Now let's see. I'll just kind of work it from the outside in and the inside out, back and forth until maybe I can get below that crack. The crack seems to be getting wider. Or at least feels a little wider, I should say. You can hear it there. And you can hear that when it comes this way. Take a peek. We're down about a little more than a quarter, maybe 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, there's that crack. And it goes all the way to the center. So we're not going to get rid of this until we're past that pith. We're going to be dealing with that the whole time. Once we get past it, and you can already see mine. I'm getting a little dull. Otherwise, you'll be getting nice curls. Yeah, so let me switch. Let me switch here. See if I can get something out of this one. This one's got a little bit more of a different grind to it. Now, see, now it's breaking up a little bit in here. But it does go all the way across. And even getting some of that glue pushed all the way out of it too. And sorry I'm not talking very much. I'm kind of concentrating what I'm doing here a little bit. But hopefully you all are enjoying this and watching it. If you would give me a like, I'd appreciate it. Hit the like button or double tap your screen. That would be real helpful. Go over here and see. Hi Redmi, hi Pierre, hi Brez, Guy, Robert William Lewis, hello. Christian, welcome to all of you. If you haven't been watching, this is olive wood that I'm turning. And it is a beautiful piece of wood, but it is also a very challenging piece of wood. One of the nice things about turning olive wood is it also makes the shop smell like olive oil. Especially when it's not too dried out. This one is pretty dry. And that's why it cracked in so many places. It was an old tree in the guy's backyard. And he was redoing his landscaping and decided to take it out. And this was going to be firewood, of all things. And I don't think it deserves to be firewood. I think it deserves to be a nice bowl. So I asked him for some pieces, for a piece of it. He brought it to me. I said I'd make him a bowl out of it. I think when he sees the bowl, he may give me a couple more pieces. Because once people see what they're about to burn, they kind of change their mind. So maybe if I turn this one good, turn this one well, I should say, I'll be rewarded with more pieces that I can make into pins and bowls and whatever other things I want to make out of them. Olive is very versatile as a wood. But boy, it sure is dulling my blades. Because it is so dense, it's dulling. It's dulled both of my blades here a little bit. I'm going to have to go sharpen them up. This is a little bit of a challenge. Whoops. Okay. I have to reset this. Let's see how it goes. Try it. See if I got it a little sharper. Hey, this is a challenge. You know, since I'm using this almost like a scraper, I'm going to see if I can use the scraper. Maybe to move this along just a little bit. We'll see. See how we're coming. I think we're doing that a little bit. Well, this isn't getting any bigger. That's good. It's not getting any smaller, but it's not getting any bigger. Getting a little closer on there. Just, what do you think of that figuring? What do you think of the inside of it, guys? Hi, Sue. You like watching wood turning, huh? And Hans and Mr. Gers, I'm not sure how to say that. Christian, Robert, Guy, Pez, Redney, here. Hello to all of you. And please hit the like button if you would. And if you would also be so kind as maybe to subscribe if you'd like. We do these every week. And sometimes we do an extra one during the week as a bonus. And if you're a subscriber, you will find out about them and be notified. So let's use this. I don't like using this for this purpose, but we're going to see what we can do here. We have to get that in here because it was starting to float towards the middle instead of. So we need to do this. My concern is that crack. I really want to get past that crack. you just started watching, we're dealing with this crack right here that goes all the way through. And now we're coming across a knot and some other ones, so we get rid of one crack, we find another one. It's the fun part of working with live wood, is you never know what you're going to come across. Well, I don't want that. The only thing we have holding this on is about an 1/8 inch, or a little bit larger, recessed miter inside here. That's all that's holding this on. So every once in a while I have to check this. Make sure that I'm tight. And also there's cracks in the bottom. I'm also got to make sure that I'm not widening the cracks that are holding this on. And that's a little bit off, okay? Let me kind of... There we go. We do have to watch that from time to time. Trying not to get caught in that crack. Oh, hitting something there. Yep, see? It hits there, it hits there, and it comes around and it hits right in there. So I gotta be really, really, really careful as this is going around. Take off a little bit at a time. And let it kind of float. Don't push in. We're just gonna kind of scrape it off. And just kind of keep taking off the edge just a little bit. Very slowly. Okay. It's getting there. It's getting there. necessarily that's the most fun thing to watch. I get that. In fact, I tell you, if it was me, I'd want to get down to the bottom of the bowl quicker too. But to tell you the truth, I also don't want this bowl to go flying off or to break off a big chunk. Just as we're starting to get some progress. So I hope you bear with me. Yeah, that didn't sound good. That sounded like something slipping off here. Okay. Let's see what was going on. We're chipping here. We are starting to get right about even with the pith. Pith is right here. So we should be able to get below that, and hopefully this crack will start to go away. But there's no guarantee of that. And on the side there, we get these nice ribbons. They start going into the middle. Because of all the cracks, it just breaks them off. Okay. Now we're starting to get a little bit of formation here. Obviously I can go in a lot thinner. I can thin this out. Right now I'm trying to see if I can get past all these cracks. Now see, I'm trying to get past this crack, but I've got this one here. And that's not going to go away because that's all the way on the outside too. So I just have to deal with that as I go. So if we want to go thinner, we have to allow for the fact that it's going to be a crack we're going across the whole thing too. And just so you know what I'm looking at, I'm looking over here. I'm turning on this side, but I'm looking over here and watching it, the wood go away and watching the line of the wood. So I'm going to bring you in here real close, if I can. Sorry. Not sure if I can. You see that little line right there? That's kind of what I'm watching. So I'm going to try and do a little demonstration here just so you can kind of see the line of wood as I go in. You can follow it. Watch it come up the wall. You see the color change a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm watching. Okay? So put it back over here. So as I'm turning, I'm watching this line so I can get a feel for am I keeping it even, or am I trying to go in too far, going in too much to the center and not I want to maintain the same thickness going down this wall. And there's a natural tendency to go in and not do that. Hope all of you are getting ready for Halloween. You celebrate Halloween in your country or in your area. Someplace to go. Kind of a big thing here in the States. And I'm going to be going down to my old office tomorrow to see how they've decorated all their office pieces. Off their everybody's got a separate little office area, so I want everyone decorates differently. They get quite creative. Last year, one department turned their sector into a drive-in McDonald's. They had menus up and everything. It was actually quite impressive. They had a little drive-up window. And they had Mayor McCheese there, and they had all sorts of characters and so forth. It was pretty fun. How are we doing? Well, we are about halfway through this bowl. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to finish it all today or not. I got only so much more time left on my phone charge here. But if I can get to it, I will. If not, we will have to probably finish this on another line. I'd have to apologize to all of you, but we're going to try. I'm not going to push the speed. Because at this point, safety first, we want to make sure we can finish this bowl and not have it fly off. We've avoided some of the cracks now. There are some others in here. See this piece missing here. We want to make sure that we don't have too many more. And I know there's some at the bottom, so I got to be really careful as I get near the bottom. But you can see how beautiful this is inside. I just don't want to fall into the trap of getting too excited too quickly and ending up ruining the bowl because it comes flying off. Whoa, and there it did. And that's exactly what it did. It caught an edge. Fortunately, there's no damage to the bottom. This is all that's holding it on, right here. That's all that's holding it on. So we want to make sure that we're real careful putting this back on. I want to make sure that I'm across the cracks. Okay. Putting them on. Well, like I said, that's what can happen. Hey Richard, hey Rolando, hey Tibor, Hans. So I hope you're still watching and enjoying this. Gonna have to try and get in just a little bit tighter if I can. All right. Wish me luck as I get in here. Now it's scraping because it's a little bit off center from when I had it on a minute ago when it came off. So I have to kind of chew it up again. Going on there. Hitting this right here, and that's the next big thing we're hitting. Let's see if I can sharpen this up just a little bit. And pull it out. And just pull it up. See if we got a new one there. I'm not quite sure. Give that a try. Cutting too much out of it at once. Take it easy. new burr I put on there really removing wood faster than it wants to. I gotta be really soft with it. Well, okay. He wants to do that. Yeah. Gotta be careful. Make sure I'm not catching anything. Something really rough right there. This, I guess. What's this? I'm hitting. It's really rough. Go back to the carbide for a minute, see if I can knife that through. Yeah, see, it's really rough right there. Okay. See where I'm at. I'm about here. Right about here. I got about another good inch or so to go. I got a lot of crack forming in there. Whoa. And that's where I want to stop. No. That's not good. I'm going to have to work on that just a little bit. Just square it up a little. There we are. That's a little better. You know, guys, I hate to say this, but I think we might have to call it because I'm going to run out of telephone power here pretty soon. We might have to finish this on the next one, and for that I do apologize. but I have a feeling that I need to let this kind of settle in, maybe work a little bit on those cracks, work on the outside. But you know, before I go, just as a little bit of a treat here, show you what this is going to look like on the inside just a little bit. We'll give it a little treatment here. This is what we're going for. This is what we want it to look like when we are done. I think maybe treating this wood, then going back and turning it again in another day or so might make a difference. So I'm going to show you this. What do you think? That's kind of what it's going to look like on the inside. Oops. That's going to be our bowl when we're all finished. But we got to go down about another inch, and we got to do a lot of finishing to it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a day here. I hate to do that to you guys, but we've been on here for 2.5 hours or more, and I think it's about time that we kind of slow down for the rest of this and make sure that we do it right. Because I'd hate to lose this bowl now that we've got it this far. I mean, we got it this far into the process. I'd really like to keep it looking really nice and finish the bowl and making sure it's all round and proper. So if you don't mind, guys, I think I'm gonna call this a day. Hey Tony, hey Richard. And for any of you that are still, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I'm still here. But I think we're going to stop turning because I just don't see us finishing in time before my phone runs out, and I want you to be able to see the final process. So what do you think so far? I haven't even sanded this, so that was just, I was just putting that finish in there without any sanding or anything. What do you think? Anybody? Any comments? Okay, well, for that I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, and we will be back probably on Saturday. I'm shooting for now. I'm going to shoot for a Saturday to finish this off for any of you that want to come back and watch it, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Thank you again.